Intentional way, intentional, a happy, healthy life.
Hi there, and welcome to the next video on our journey and in this series. It's actually on a subject that you might find quite surprising that is in a video that's about weight loss, but actually today's video is all going to be about fear, and the fear of failure and the fear of rejection. And I personally think it's really crucial in the journey that we cover this. This is so much about the things that stop us from believing. It's about the things that stop us from trying. And I really want us to get into this detail. There was a phrase I was reading some time ago which sort of talks about that no one can stop us progressing towards our dreams. No one. And believing anything to the contrary to that is just accepting the role of the victim in our own lives. And our day, every day, is ultimately our own choice. And I'm so in that space that we should never, ever allow ourselves to move into the space of being victims in any facet of our lives. It's just not a good space to be. We need to be players. And in fact, I referenced earlier on about the book I wrote called Finally Climbing My Tree, which was about my own personal weight loss journey. There's a whole chapter in there which I wrote all those years ago about victims and players. And I want to be a player in my own life. So I had to deal with some of my own fears. And that's what we're about. So fear is good. Actually, fear is natural. It's something that's healthy. It's in our system and it's there to keep us safe. Fear is what helps us drive some of the fight and flight, pre-engineered ways of our system responding to certain events and activities. It is so fundamental in keeping us safe. Sometimes the brain doesn't have time to think about things. We do things subconsciously because we're programmed to keep ourselves safe. And it tends to be when we're physically at risk that some of these auto responses come into play. And when people go through extreme fear, sometimes they freeze because even that can't work. But as a rule, we're pretty good at taking the right kind of actions, and then afterwards, once the adrenaline's been pumping through the system, kind of thinking, crikey, that was a close one, where do we go? But fear, as a rule, can be great, but it's highly negative when we apply it to the wrong parts of our lives and when we let things cover the wrong parts of our lives. And the trouble is that fear is something that we learn very young. I mean very young. And the vast majority of things that we are fearful of are strangely really illogical. And we're going to go through a bit of a journey about how this sort of lack of logic applies to fears and various bits and pieces. And it's dangerous because it affects our mindset. And this is why I care so much about this. So there are all sorts of conversations that come up about fears, but actually the top fears I always think are quite funny. So we're going to make a list of some of the things that people are fearful of. So make sure you write some of these down. So people are scared of dogs. Blood, darkness is another one. Clowns, for some reason. Lots of people are scared of clowns. Crowds of people, flying, needles, mice, closed spaces. This is one that I can resonate with, and I'll come back to about that soon. Spiders, snakes, public speaking. Public speaking, there's one that is the number one thing that people say they're scared of. The concept of standing up and talking in public or making videos or all that kind of stuff. And finally, another one that's personally resonates with me, heights. So let's just have a look at some of these fears and start looking at them and think, well, how many of these are really logical? So let's go, for instance, with a couple of these. So heights. If I'm at the top of a high building, historically I used to get really nervous. I really did not like that. How many buildings in my lifetime that I have been in have fallen down when I've been up there? And incredibly small. Why am I scared of being in a high building when the risks in a high building are so small? Public speaking is another really interesting one. People say they're scared of public speaking. Actually, how many times has anybody been physically assaulted whilst public speaking? It has happened on a handful of occasions. But how many times have I ever seen that happen? Never. Never. People are not scared of public speaking. They're scared of failing. But even if they stood up and they stumbled on their words, people wouldn't worry. They'd be very supportive of it. They wouldn't be judgmental. They'd just sit and go, crikey, I understand. It's interesting. We could work our way through all of these. And I mean, spiders is a classic one. In the UK, where I live, actually we have no spiders that can cause you serious damage. No. Now, in some parts of Australia and obviously in other parts of the world, that is not true. But even those, it's very rare that you see them. You won't find them walking down the road very often. But actually, if you look at where we are in terms of spiders in the UK, the worst they're going to do is give you a nasty walk over you. Yet people are scared of spiders. Why? Because they learn it when they're young. Why do we pick up fears of heights? Because we learn it when we're young. Why do we get scared about public speaking? Because we learn it when we're young. Why do we? The list is endless. The list is absolutely endless. And they actually have become incredibly habitual. I see a spider and I scream. The cue is the spider. The routine is a scream. And the reward is, oh, I feel better because I'm scared of spiders and I've got away from them. And it's just like, really? Honestly? So if you start being aware of some of these fears, and let's just use spiders as an example, you see a spider, your temptation is to go through a routine that says let's scream and panic and run away. Actually, let's not do that. Let's put a different routine in. And you'll find that if you put a different routine that says actually, look the critter in the eye and say, do you know what? I'm going to go and pick you up in a cup and I'm going to throw you outside the house. And not do the whole panic thing, and then do the reward, which is, and now the spider's gone. And see how we get on. And do you know what? It's just habitual behaviour. And the more you understand the fact that the responses to fears are in the main more about habitual behaviour than you could ever believe, it really becomes empowering about how you can cope and handle the things that you're scared about. So, a couple of different bits and pieces. When did you last suffer from any of those fears? And think about those. What one of that list of those phrases I gave you, the list of the fears that I gave you, which ones of those resonated for you? It won't be all of them, but some of them. It will be there. And so for some of the others, some people won't be scared of spiders and you'll be thinking, why on earth are people scared of a spider? And then you sit there and go, but what are the things that I would be irrationally scared of? Because it's irrational fear that we're dealing with. And think about, in our habitual journeys of trigger, routine, reward, what different routine could you put in with the things that you've been fearful of to make sure that you can grow that and make it work? Really, really important. So when did you last suffer them? And does having those fears, does that stop you being the best you? And are you teaching other people those fears? I mean, we have a daughter and we were determined, my wife had hated spiders. She's good with them now, we've cracked that and we've worked our way through that. But she was determined that when we had our daughter, she was not going to teach our daughter to be scared of spiders. And in the main, we managed to achieve that. And I'm really, really pleased at that because you learn these things when you're young. Just make sure we're not passing on illogical fears to people. And they're very rarely real. But how many people are scared of the failure of losing weight? How many people kind of, they start and then they go, oh, I'm going to fail. I need to stop. I tell you, it's illogical because everything we're building into this process is about giving you the logic and the facts that it's all good. We know how to do this, we will succeed and we will succeed together. You don't need to be scared of it. So when you feel scared and you feel like, oh, well, am I not going to make it? And am I going to, and all of those other different bits and pieces, just know that it's a different routine. Just when you feel like that, go back and read all your notes. When you feel like that, go and look at your hopes and dreams. When you just have a different routine about how you process it, and you'll be fine. But that's what it's about. When was the last time any of you actually felt confident enough to go and buy a piece of clothing that was a size smaller than you are now? Go and do it. Just go and do it. Because you know what? In a couple of weeks' time, it will fit you. Because I know it will. I've got that much confidence in how you'll do. So just go buy it. And it's one of the most rewarding things you can possibly do. Go and buy a piece of clothing. Because your fears tell you, oh, I don't know. Yeah, I'm telling you, honestly, you'll be fine. And you'll get there. And think of how powerful you will feel when you went and bought some clothing that didn't fit you, and now you just go and put it on. It's a great, great feeling. How many people are scared of going to the gym? Go try. Go find. And how many people are scared of being undressed, even with their partner? That's such a crying shame. What are you fearful of? You're fearful of rejection, and I tell you, you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely fine. It's a learned and conditioned response. And every time we find one of these fears, just really look at them, cold light of day. How much of that is logical? So just remember that the whole piece about habitual behaviour and fears is just crucial. It's just crucial, okay? So I think that I would sum up the whole piece around failure and rejection in this way, and it's 4 things. So the first thing is, usually we're fearful of somebody hurting our feelings rather than we are fearful of the actual situation. It's the way we're wired. And so secondly, as a result of the fact that we're fearful of somebody hurting our feelings, we have a temptation not to try. And that's not good. And then we self-limit. We just put ourselves in boxes and reduce what's possible. And that's not good for us either. And this final piece I think is crucial for me. There are only 4 types of people that would hurt us. 4. And I want you to write this down because it's really, really important that you get your head around the kinds of people that might want to hurt our feelings. So the first one is the boaster. I can do that, but I can do it better than you. And we all know people like that. I don't know why you're getting so excited about that. You lost a stone, I lost 63. I mean, it's just people, there's always somebody, and just those people exist. So they're the first group. The second group is kind of what we call the self-protector. And they're worried, actually, about expressing their own fears because they see your success and they're scared of you, so they make negative comments. And we all know quite a lot of those. We really do. We just know lots and lots of people. They don't want to engage. I don't know why you're losing weight. I had so many people say, I don't know why you're losing weight. What's the point of losing weight? You're only going to put it back on again. Why? Why would you do that? Well, in fact, actually, they were expressing their own fears that if they lost weight, they would put it back on again. And that would be them. And then the third group is the people that are just ignorant. They suffer from ignorance. They actually have no idea what they're talking about. None. It's not possible to lose weight and keep it off. It isn't just look at the number of people. It's just physically. No, actually, you're just talking nonsense. It's very possible. You just have to do certain things and do it in a certain way. You find people who are so happy to demonstrate their ignorance with such clarity, it's just scary. Absolutely scary. Just understand those people exist. And then the final people are the people that they're keen to help. They actually do want to help. They're just really rubbish at saying good things. They're poor communicators, and it all comes out wrong. And it just all comes out wrong. But these are the people that hurt our feelings. And for the first 3, I've got one piece of advice for you, which is totally ignore them. Just, if somebody's a boaster, or a self-protector, or if they're just ignorant, just ignore them. They have no play in your life at all. They have no ability to affect your feelings. So don't let them hurt you, because they're just ignorant. It's simple. There's no logical fact there that even vaguely says why you should look after them. The last group, I also want to say, ignore them. But don't be quite so harsh on them, because they are actually keen to help. They just don't know how to communicate. So maybe spend some time helping them to reframe 1 or 2 of their thoughts and ideas, and they'll be very, very supportive. But it's kind of the majority of people are out to hurt your feelings. Do you know what? Just ignore them. They're not part of you. There are too many other people that are really keen to help. And this is the thing that I think is very important for you to remember. So let's think about people who criticise us. Can you think of one person who doesn't criticise you? Just one. I'm sure you can. For some people it will be their mother, for some people it will be their father, for some people it will be their partner. Yeah, there'll be somebody. But do you know 5 people who wouldn't criticise you? And I'm sure you do. Do you know 10 people? Do you know 100 people? Do you know 1,000 people who wouldn't criticise you? I get to deal with thousands and thousands of people in my life, And the vast majority would never engage in behaviours around criticism. And in truth, actually, in the whole myriad of people that we know, and usually in our lifetimes, we know sort of 80 odd thousand people is the numbers that statistics tend to suggest that we meet in our lifetime. Actually, we usually meet no more than 5 or 6 people throughout our lifetime who actually criticise us directly in a way that we don't like it. Now, in a world where there are 80 odd thousand people that don't criticise you and 5 that do, who do you think's got the problem? The 80,000 for not criticising you, or the 5 who do? I tell you where the problem is. We listen to the 5 and we listen to the fearful voices far too much. So you need to start thinking really logically about your fears. You need to start thinking really logically about actually which people would encourage you, which people would hurt you. When you go to the gym, you'll be surrounded with people who are going to encourage you, yet your body tells you, but they might judge me. Well, your real life experience is not that. Yet the negativity that we surround ourselves in the news and in the way that life is led these days will teach you a totally different series of behaviours. So don't think that. Honestly, so many people who are here to help you. So I want you to make sure that you understand a couple of things in this space as we pull this session to a conclusion. Remember, the things that people say they're scared of, and yet the things that people are scared of, you'll notice in the list I gave you, fear and rejection, they were never on it. Actually, people are really scared of rejection, and they're really scared of failure, but they don't admit to themselves that. They dress it up in other things. Okay, so I want you to just be aware of fears generically, be aware of the fear of failure and rejection, and understand that in this journey you are safe. The logic all is on your side. If you follow the program, you will lose weight. If you follow the program, you will meet your dreams. If you follow the program, you'll feel better about yourselves. There is no part, the science is absolutely indisputable. You'll succeed. You will succeed. Don't be scared. There's nothing to be scared of. And so when you do feel scared, and it will happen from time to time, be very specific. What is it I am scared of? Is this a real fear, or is actually this just a habitual fear? And when it's habitual, we know what to do when we've got a habit and we want to change it. We're going to work out immediately what happened before we started getting scared. We saw the spider. Oh, saw the spider. I know what it was. Saw a spider. Spider, what's my new routine? And we're going to think of the new routine, and we're just going to keep putting it through, and we're going to keep building up new habits, and you'll stop being scared. Remind yourself that you are worthy of success. You are absolutely worthy of success. And focus on your long-term plan and claim all of those positive things with it. So I hope we've covered fears and rejection for you in a way that is really powerful and encouraging for you. There is nothing to be fearful on this journey. And in that context, the next video is all going to be about motivation and how we have positive inputs. So thanks for being with us today. Great to catch up with you. Look forward to seeing you soon. Take care now.
Intentional way, intentional